Hello and welcome to this third team webinar. Today I'm going to talk about the top 3 mental game challenges for referees. I'm Nathan Sherratt. I'm a resilience trainer, mental toughness practitioner, and I'm the managing director of the third team, alongside being an active referee. At the age of 7, one of my friends encouraged me to join the local football team. I wasn't the most confident kid, but I knew a lot of the players in the team, so I thought, okay, I'll give it a go. Now I quickly fell in love with football, but realised I was not a very good player. I really wanted to stay involved in football, and that's what led me to qualify as a referee. Once I began to referee matches, my confidence grew, and things started to go from there. I've always massively enjoyed refereeing. During my refereeing career, I've witnessed extremely violent conflict, and this is one of the reasons why I set up the third team, because of the way I felt afterwards. A younger, less experienced referee may not have had the level of focus and resilience that I did to deal with such a violent situation, such as the one I faced. For any referee, the most difficult thing to deal with is a mass confrontation, particularly if you're on your own. You've got one set of eyes, and you're looking at something that could involve 22 players and numerous officials from both clubs. When an incident has a severe violent ramification, such as an assault where the police become involved, it can be extremely difficult for a referee. You have to work alongside the police to give as much information as possible. On the particular day that my incident took place, I believe that adrenaline got me through. But the following day, and for the following few days after, I was badly affected by it, and it wasn't easy for me to brush that off. Now, the incident I've just described was the inspiration for the third team. Though I do look at the business as a wider entity, not just dealing with pressurized and violent situations such as that one. I want to promote positive mental health, resilience and mental toughness, and help referees develop that through my workshops so that they can get the maximum out of their potential. Here are some important refereeing statistics. In 2017, there were 111 cases of confirmed referee abuse across the United Kingdom. And the Football Association nationally has 31,735 affiliated officials, but lost 6,700 last season, which is 1 in 5 of all of the referees registered to the FA nationally. Over the past 10 seasons, the FA has lost on average 7,000 referees a season. And I think those statistics really highlight why I set up the third team. I want to help the referees that I work with to be less likely to want to hang up their whistle through skills and other things that my workshops have allowed them to learn. The purpose of this webinar is exactly as the title says. I'm going to provide you with 3 top tips that will help your mental game. The first one is how we prepare mentally and physically for matches. Anxieties, fears, worries, doubts, they are all perfectly natural as referees, that we have them before the game. Now, a pre-match routine can promote confidence and focus and can get you right up and ready for the game. But the pre-match routine is something that's there, and we have and we do every game. But it's also something that, exactly the same as our technical refereeing, can improve game on game, week on week, month on month, year on year, season upon season. It's perfectly normal to feel anxious sitting in the dressing room before a game, or to feel uneasy, and that you might make an error. Before a match, your thought process may become stifled, and your mind might be filled with distractions. Anxiety, fear, worry, and a lack of ability to focus and difficulty getting into your optimum match mindset are some of the major reasons why referees do not perform to their ability. Do you ever wonder how some officials seem so confident and prepared to deliver the perfect game right from the first whistle? Now, there's no secret to achieving that. Top referees have a pre-match routine that helps them reduce distractions, minimize their anxiety, and allows them to move towards the zone they need to be in for the game. Fundamentally, elite level officials use pre-match rituals to prepare to enter the correct mindset that best suits them for their optimal performance. Now, how do pre-match routines work? Well, when you're focused on your pre-match routine, you're not focused on the what-ifs, the teams, the atmosphere, the spectators, all of those what-ifs that they're creating to intimidate the away team and the team of officials. Past imperfect performances and other distractions that generate anxiety, promote fear, and create doubt about your ability are not able to creep in when you have a really focused pre-match routine. As you can only focus on one thing at a time, paying attention to your pre-match routine grounds you in the present and keeps you relaxed and minimizes the distractions around. Additionally, as you move through your warm-up routine, it narrows your focus and moves you more into your optimal match day mindset. Once you finish your warm-up program, your mind sends a signal through your body saying, I'm ready to officiate. Let's go out and let's attack this game. Good examples of pre-match routine. I think we can look at players. And one player in particular, Ashley Guldager from the United States women's national team, is consistent in her routine, which helps her be better prepared and better ready to play prior to each game she's selected for. Perhaps more unusually, she also has a halftime routine. She talks about when she walks onto the field of play, she'll be listening to a specific piece of music before switching to a wider warm-up playlist. She puts her shoes and shin pads on in a certain order every time before she sets off to the stadium. And then before she stretches, she'll chew a certain kind of gum and have a certain kind of drink. Another fantastic example of this is the lacrosse player Madison Hicks. She begins her pre-match routine the night before a game and has seen great improvement in her performances since she started doing this. She also listens to a playlist before she goes into the dressing room. She lays out her kit the night before, gets her hair braided by a teammate, and starts her routine to get her into the game mindset. And by doing this, she says that she's seen an improvement in her games. Now, the lesson that we can learn from these anecdotes are, if you want to perform consistently at your peak, then prepare consistently with a consistent warm-up routine. You must ask yourself, though, what puts you in the correct mindset to officiate at your best? What actions prior to a match have helped you perform at your best? You must also establish your physical warm-up routine, which you're doing prior to your games. What order will you perform the drills in? Writing out your routine might help you remember what to do for the first few games of implementing your new regime. Integrate your pre-match mental preparation strategies to help you feel confident, focused, and ready to trust in your skills. Remember to stay focused on preparing yourself mentally and physically for the game, and not on the players or what the result may be. The second point I want to bring to your attention is how you manage your emotions on the pitch. Visualization of you making an error or being abused can be actually a really positive step, because if you've thought about it before you've entered the field of play, you're much more likely to be able to deal with it better. The same goes for anxiety and how you deal with that. Your breathing and your self-talk can be measured and positive, and that can help you achieve the best when you go out onto the pitch. Emotions can supercharge or ruin the performance of a referee out in the middle. You must have had a game where players, spectators, or club officials have got into your head. How well did you respond to that? Did you become really angry and lose your focus? Did your performance go beyond your control? Or did you make more mistakes because you became extremely frustrated? You want to be in full control of your emotions to be at your best, as opposed to allowing your emotions to control you. I have a strategy to be mentally ready for dissent. It all bases itself around being mentally prepared to be challenged. Be ready for dissenting players, spectators, and club officials. Think about your strategy for coping. Keep in mind that the players, the spectators, and the club officials are all attempting to level the playing field because they see you as somebody who has the influence to change the flow of the game. Anticipating and preparing yourself before it happened and thinking, how am I going to handle this? If you think about it now, before you go out onto the pitch, you'll know what to do when you get there. Tell yourself, relax, focus, referee my game. I'm a good referee. I just need to focus on what I do best. After the match, don't communicate with the dissenting voices who are disappointed with the outcome, and certainly do not allow their words to penetrate your mind and your thought processes as you look to evaluate the game. Managing your own emotional responses to difficult situations on the pitch, or the players and club officials, is a key part of being mentally tough as a referee. One such situation that most people would judge to be difficult, and certainly not easy, would be awarding a penalty kick, especially if it was in front of a large and vociferous crowd. Even thinking about it and visualizing it is enough to increase your heart rate and get the adrenaline pumping through your veins. Using a mentally tough approach, I would try and remove emotion from that situation and remain calm throughout a controlled process, visualizing how I would want to award the penalty kick and sell that decision to the players. The results of a recent survey showed that in the face of performance anxiety, the best advice was to calm down. But this has been challenged. Participants performed better when they told themselves they were excited rather than being anxious. They got more decisions correct and performed better overall. The implication of this study shows that it challenges conventional wisdom that you should calm down. If you're feeling anxious before a performance, because anxiety and calm are radically different emotions. One is high arousal, one is low. In contrast, anxiety and excitement have divergent effects on performance, but the experience of these two emotions is quite similar. So it might be easier to switch to excitement from anxiety rather than to try and calm down. And this is a change that could dramatically improve your performance when you're out in the middle. The third and final point that I want to talk about is the way you can lose enjoyment from refereeing. This is one of the biggest reasons why referees hang up their whistle for good. We have to think about the main points, such as part-time and full-time refereeing demands upon workload, the pressure to be flawless constantly, and how we manage burnout. Make sure we have good self-care and make sure we don't hate being a referee. I give up. I'm sure that's a piece of mental dialogue that you've had many a time, having come off the pitch from refereeing a very difficult game. It's certainly a common thought. You certainly wouldn't be on your own. Many colleagues have felt exactly the same way. Unfortunately, as I touched on at the opening part of this workshop, we know that over the past 10 seasons, the FA has lost on average 7,000 referees per year. So why do some referees hang up their whistle? Particularly when the majority of those are at a young age, so they still have plenty of seasons left in them. I believe there's four main reasons that referees choose never to don the kit again. The first one being the consumption of time it takes. Many referees often tell me that officiating requires too much of their time. They have to dedicate time to training, they have too many games, too much travelling, not enough time to relax, and that it can eat into the time that they have to socialise with their friends and their family. And when you feel that your refereeing career has taken on a life of its own, it can make training sessions on the track incredibly difficult. You can feel at times like you're running through treacle. The second of these reasons is the overbearing pressure. The pressure to deliver a flawless performance every time you cross the white line is overwhelming for a lot of referees. Many of these officials feel that they need to please the club officials, the spectators, and the players, and they have the fear of letting down others. So they try and set unrealistically high goals or feel that they need to be absolutely perfect in every single decision that they make throughout the game. The weight that some officials feel is often too heavy a load to bear. The third point is injuries. Missing a lot of games due to injury and watching your refereeing colleagues progressing and achieving can feel incredibly frustrating. Going through the rehabilitation process following an injury and experience the pain of being injured and then having to recondition after an injury can cause a whole host of negative emotions. And finally, and most prominently, is the enjoyment dwindling away. I think this is the main reason why most referees want to hang up their whistle. When the enjoyment is gone, as an official, you're left feeling burnt out. Something you once enjoyed feels like a chore. It sucks out all the motivation and any passion that you once had for refereeing. As you heard on a previous point, I like to look to other sports and to players for anecdotal evidence of this. And a great example that I saw recently was the former NFL quarterback Andrew Luck. Now, Luck was drafted by the Indianapolis Colts in 2012 in the NFL draft. But surprisingly, he chose to retire at 29, despite him being one of the top quarterbacks in the league and still having many seasons left in him. He achieved a lot in his 7-year playing career, including 4 Pro Bowls and winning the 2018 NFL Comeback of the Year. Unfortunately, throughout his career, he also experienced a lot of adversity. He had shoulder surgery, which caused him to miss an entire season. And then towards the end of his career, he had ankle and calf injuries. And eventually these injuries wore Luck down, both mentally and physically. And they were the impetus for his retirement from American football. He said after his retirement that it had been unrelenting and that he felt totally stuck. The only way out he could see was to stop playing. He talked about how his enjoyment had been taken away from the game. Now, if you enjoy your refereeing, you can endure a lot more adversity while staying motivated to improve. Andrew Luck said that he hadn't been able to live the life he wanted, referring to both the pain of his injuries and the degree of dedication required to recover from them. It's taken the joy out of the game, he said. Now, he'd been the #1 NFL pick, and then its leader in passing touchdowns, and then comeback player of the year. So for that to happen to somebody like him, and somebody of his standing, really, really drives home the point of how you can lose the desire and the enjoyment, no matter how good you are. Now, one of the things I find really, really important is to think about how we can keep refereeing enjoyable. Now, eventually, we will all hang up our whistle. And it's not a failure that. A time comes when every referee needs to make the decision to move on. But if you have a passion for refereeing, and your passion burns brightly, then you need to write out a list of what you enjoy about officiating. Why did you start? What's the best thing about being in charge of a football match? You need to remind yourself to make enjoying refereeing games one of your goals. Let go of all the other expectations, such as trying to perform flawlessly, and think, I'm going to make sure that if nothing else, I enjoy refereeing this game. Perfectionists love and hate their style of refereeing. When they fail to live up to their own expectations, they become extremely frustrated and lose the enjoyment in refereeing. But your goal should be to think, how can I make my enjoyment of officiating games much stronger than the adversity and pain that I feel at times in my career? So in summary, we need to think about how we can prepare our mind and body before a match so that we're not distracted, we're totally focused on how we can referee to the best of our ability, and we don't get those negative thoughts creeping into our minds. We also need to think about self-regulation, about how we feel in the key moments in games. I talked about giving a penalty kick in front of a raucous crowd. Visualizing that prior to going out on the pitch can be a really, really important step in learning how to regulate your own emotions on the pitch so that you can execute everything to the best of your possible ability. The third point is about how we take ownership of your well-being. Only you can look after your own well-being because only you know how you feel and how refereeing makes you feel. Trying to remember to enjoy refereeing is one of the most important things. The majority of us took up the whistle because we enjoyed it. We need to maintain that enjoyment throughout the process. I've been Nathan Sherratt, the resilience trainer, mental toughness practitioner, and managing director of the third team. To find out more about the third team, visit the website that you see on screen now, www.thethirdteam.co.uk. If you want to get in touch with me about anything or this particular workshop, then email info@thethirdteam.co.uk. You can also follow us on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram pages.